September 5th, but the most shocking, the declaration of July 19. The strategic assessment. Camilla's analysis of Diana was remarkably sophisticated and accurate. Diana's eating disorder made her psychologically vulnerable to stress and criticism. Her need for approval made her susceptible to manipulation through social isolation. Her impulsive nature could be triggered into self-destructive behavior. Her dependence on media attention could be weaponized against her. Diana thinks she's fighting Charles, Camilla concluded, but she's actually fighting me, and I've been preparing for this battle much longer than she has. Don't miss this shocking revelation. Camilla's recruitment strategy. The network, soldier forward. Immensible deeper. Camilla's destruction of Diana required a sophisticated network of allies positioned throughout British high society, the royal household, and Diana's personal circle. Building this network took years of careful cultivation and strategic relationship management. The palace insiders. Camilla's most valuable assets were long-serving royal household members who had grown frustrated with Diana's emotional outbursts and protocol violations. Lady Susan Hussey, the Queen's lady-in-waiting, became Camilla's primary intelligence source, providing detailed reports about Diana's private conversations with the Queen and her access to royal family information. Sir Robert Fellows, despite being Diana's brother-in-law, was gradually turned against her through careful manipulation of his loyalty to the crown over family ties. Diana is damaging the institution. Camilla would remind Fellows during their regular consultations, "Your duty is to the monarchy, not to your sister-in-law's emotional stability." The social circle infiltration. Most devastatingly, Camilla began cultivating friendships with people in Diana's social circle, slowly turning them into sources of information and influence. She would attend the same charity events as Diana's friends, gradually building relationships based on shared interests and subtle criticism of Diana's difficult behavior. "Poor Diana," Camilla would say with false sympathy. "She's so fragile. I worry that the stress of royal life is too much for her. Have you noticed how thin she's become?" These conversations planted seeds of doubt about Diana's stability, while positioning Camilla as a concerned, mature alternative to Diana's emotional volatility. The media manipulation. Camilla also recruited sympathetic journalists and media figures who could be counted on to present her in a favorable light, while subtly undermining Diana's public image. These allies didn't overtly attack Diana, but instead promoted narratives about Camilla's discretion, maturity, and stabilizing influence on Charles that implicitly criticized Diana's public emotional displays. You won't believe how Camilla weaponized Diana's own insecurities. The psychological warfare. Camilla's most effective tactic was exploiting Diana's deepest insecurities through carefully orchestrated psychological attacks that appeared coincidental but were actually calculated to trigger Diana's eating disorder and emotional instability. The social exclusion strategy. Camilla began systematically organizing social events and private gatherings that included Charles but excluded Diana, creating a parallel social world where Diana was unwelcome but Camilla was central. These events were carefully timed to coincide with Diana's public engagements, ensuring she would hear about them through mutual acquaintances but be unable to attend. Charles looked so relaxed last night. Friends would report to Diana after these gatherings. It was lovely to see him enjoying himself. Camilla was such a wonderful hostess. These reports were designed to reinforce Diana's sense that Charles was happier without her, and that Camilla had successfully replaced her in their social circle. The appearance competition. Most cruelly, Camilla orchestrated situations where Diana would be forced to compare her appearance to Camilla's in unflattering circumstances. When Diana was struggling with bulimia and looking gaunt, Camilla would ensure she appeared at the same events looking healthy, well-dressed, and confident, creating visual contrasts that highlighted Diana's deteriorating condition. Camilla would also arrange for photographers to capture these moments, ensuring that images of a vibrant Camilla next to a hollow-eyed Diana would circulate in society magazines. The competence narrative. Camilla consistently promoted stories about her own competence in areas where Diana struggled, particularly in managing Charles's moods and supporting his work. "Camilla just understands Charles so much better," palace sources would confide to journalists. She knows how to handle his temperament. She makes his life easier rather than more complicated. These narratives position Diana as a burden on Charles, while presenting Camilla as his salvation, reinforcing Diana's growing sense of inadequacy and rejection. Don't miss this devastating tactic: how Camilla turned Diana's children against her. The family manipulation. Camilla's most ruthless strategy involved slowly influencing William and Harry's perceptions of their mother through carefully planted suggestions and strategic gift-giving that positioned Camilla as the stable adult figure in their lives. The reliable alternative. Camilla began establishing herself as a constant, calm presence in the boys' lives during visits with Charles, contrasting her consistent availability with Diana's emotional unpredictability. When Diana was struggling with bulimia or depression, Camilla would ensure she was present at Highgrove with thoughtful gifts, home-cooked meals, and patient attention to the boys' interests. "Camilla always remembers what we like," William reportedly told Charles after one visit. "She listens when we talk about school." These comments were carefully reported back to Diana through household staff, reinforcing her fear that she was failing as a mother, and that her sons preferred Camilla's company to hers. The stability narrative. More strategically, Camilla presented herself as the adult who could provide the emotional stability that Diana's mental health struggles prevented her from offering consistently. She would plan elaborate activities for the boys during their Highgrove visits: hunting, fishing, country walks, while ensuring Diana heard about these bonding experiences through third parties. "The boys had such a wonderful time at Highgrove this weekend," Charles would report to Diana with apparent innocence. "Camilla organized a treasure hunt for them. They were laughing all afternoon." These reports were designed to make Diana feel excluded from her son's happiness, and to position Camilla as the nurturing figure who could give them what Diana couldn't. The mother figure setup. Most devastatingly, Camilla began encouraging William and Harry to confide in her about their concerns about Diana's health and emotional state, positioning herself as the adult they could turn to when their mother was struggling. "You can always talk to me if you're worried about Mummy," Camilla would tell the boys during private moments. "I know it's scary when adults are sad." This strategy was designed to create a dynamic where the boys would see Camilla as their protector from Diana's emotional instability, rather than seeing Diana as their primary source of comfort and security. You're not ready for Camilla's master manipulation. The medical conspiracy. Camilla's most sophisticated attack on Diana involved collaborating with palace physicians and mental health professionals to pathologize Diana's emotional responses to Camilla's own psychological warfare. The diagnostic campaign. Working through Lady Susan Hussey and other palace allies, Camilla encouraged royal physicians to focus on Diana's eating disorder and depression as evidence of fundamental mental instability, rather than reasonable responses to marital betrayal. Dr. Maurice Lipsedge, who treated Diana's bulimia, was subtly influenced to emphasize Diana's personality disorders and difficulty coping with royal duties in his reports to palace officials. These medical opinions were then used to justify limiting Diana's access to sensitive royal information and reducing her public responsibilities for her own well-being. The medication strategy. Camilla also influenced palace physicians to prescribe increasingly strong psychiatric medications for Diana's depression, creating a cycle where the side effects of medication made Diana appear more unstable and justified further medical intervention. "Diana seems so drowsy lately," courtiers would observe after Diana had been prescribed new antidepressants. "Perhaps she's not well enough for this level of responsibility." These observations, carefully orchestrated by Camilla's allies, reinforced the narrative that Diana was mentally unfit for royal duties, while Camilla remained alert and capable. The intervention threat. Most cunningly, Camilla positioned herself as the concerned family member advocating for Diana's recovery, suggesting that Diana might need residential mental health treatment for her own safety. "I'm worried about Diana," Camilla would confide to mutual friends. "She seems so fragile. Perhaps she needs professional help in a more intensive setting." These expressions of concern were designed to normalize the idea of removing Diana from royal duties entirely, while positioning Camilla as the caring woman looking out for her rival's well-being. Don't miss this explosive revelation, Camilla's final solution. The endgame. By 1995, Camilla's systematic destruction campaign had achieved most of its objectives. Diana was isolated, psychologically damaged, and increasingly seen by palace officials as a liability to the monarchy rather than an asset. The panorama trap. Camilla's masterpiece was recognizing that Diana's desperation for vindication would lead her to make increasingly reckless public statements that would ultimately destroy her own credibility. Rather than trying to prevent Diana's BBC Panorama interview, Camilla encouraged it through intermediaries, knowing that Diana's emotional state would lead her to make statements that would horrify the palace and the public. "Let her speak," Camilla advised her allies. "Diana will hang herself with her own words." The interview's aftermath, Diana's removal from royal duties and loss of official status, achieved everything Camilla had worked toward for 4 years. The victory. With Diana stripped of her royal role and increasingly marginalized, Camilla had successfully cleared the path for her own eventual legitimization as Charles's partner and future queen consort. Diana's transformation from beloved people's princess to tragic, unstable ex-wife was the direct result of Camilla's systematic psychological warfare campaign. The public rehabilitation. Having destroyed Diana's credibility and removed her from royal life, Camilla began the final phase of her plan, her own public rehabilitation as Charles's appropriate partner. Media coverage gradually shifted from portraying Camilla as a homewrecker to presenting her as the mature, stable woman who had helped Charles through the difficult years of his marriage breakdown. This narrative transformation was possible only because Diana had been so thoroughly discredited that public sympathy for her had been replaced by fatigue with her emotional drama. The perfect crime. Camilla's destruction of Diana was the perfect psychological crime because it was achieved entirely through legal, socially acceptable behavior that appeared motivated by concern rather than malice. Every action Camilla took could be defended as supporting Charles during a difficult period, protecting the children from family drama, advocating for Diana's mental health treatment, maintaining appropriate royal standards and protocol. No individual action was overtly cruel or obviously manipulative, but the cumulative effect was the systematic destruction of a vulnerable woman who posed a threat to Camilla's ambitions. The historical victory. Camilla's campaign was ultimately successful beyond her wildest dreams. Not only did she eliminate Diana as an obstacle, but she managed to become queen consort herself, something that would have been impossible if Diana had remained popular and influential. Diana's death in 1997 removed the last impediment to Camilla's complete victory, allowing her to achieve the crown that her systematic destruction campaign had made possible. The legacy. Most chillingly, Camilla's tactics have been largely forgotten or dismissed as conspiracy theories, allowing her to be remembered as the woman who won Charles's heart, rather than the strategist who destroyed his wife's life to claim his throne. The perfect revenge is one that leaves no fingerprints while achieving total victory. The truth revealed, Camilla's secret revenge against Diana proved that the most dangerous enemy is often the one who smiles while destroying you, who expresses concern while orchestrating your downfall, and who appears innocent while systematically eliminating every source of your strength and support. Diana never fully understood that she wasn't just fighting Charles's infidelity. She was fighting Camilla's intelligence, strategic thinking, and ruthless determination to eliminate any obstacle to her ultimate goal of becoming queen. The shy kindergarten teacher who married Prince Charles was no match for the sophisticated society woman who had spent decades learning to manipulate the levers of power within the British establishment. In the end, Diana's greatest strength, her emotional honesty and vulnerability, became the weapon Camilla used to destroy her. Some wars are fought with armies, others are fought with whispers, social exclusion, and psychological manipulation. Camilla's war was fought in drawing rooms and doctors' offices, at dinner parties and charity events, through seemingly innocent conversations and expressions of false concern. And she won completely, proving that sometimes the most effective revenge is the kind that looks like kindness, while systematically destroying everything your enemy holds dear. The woman who became queen consort didn't just outlast her rival. She orchestrated her rival's destruction with such sophistication that even today, few people recognize the masterpiece of manipulation that cleared her path to the throne.